not all of us are gym bunnies, ne? You're like, woo! About the muscles. Okay, right. And while you guys do that, I'm going to be fixing my mic. Okay, maybe it's fine now. Okay, let's start again. Hands out. Your position is your index finger. So let's do this. Your index finger is your right, is in somebody's palm, and your other one, you're out. So somebody has their palm in your hands. So when I clap, when I say change, let's do a practice round. Change. 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 Okay, I'm going to try it again. No, that was a practice round. That was a practice round. Guys, it's after lunch. The energy is great. You guys have got great energy, got great sustenance. Okay, we're going to do it one more time. Okay, so hands out, palm, index finger in a palm, palm out. Let's change. Let's change. Let's change. Let's change again. Okay, everybody, give yourselves a round of applause. So, if you have children, that's a great exercise. It gets your mind to think, because I don't know about the left brain and the right brain, when you do that kind of exercise, because we're not used to kind of doing it quickly, right? It just gets your mind going. So thank you so much for being good sports. We are in the second half of the day. Okay, I hear some noise. The stands have all been shut down. Fantastic. Okay, to my left, those stands feel like they're still open. Thanks, guys. So Oslerato and I just discovered that we're from the same homestead, as I like to say. I went to school in the Northwest Province, and everything aside, I still think that was such a great system. So I got educated in the Northwest Province. So Oslerato, I want to read you her profile. Okay. So Oslerato, if I can find you, Oslerato, come up as I'm trying to find your profile. Please come up, because I really do want to read it. I think you've got such an interesting background that it's really worth me taking the time to find it. So Oslerato Mangope, she's the founder of Enabling Solutions. So when I was Googling what my company would be called, my company is called Enable Africa. Enable Solutions was taken, so I see now who took that name. You did it. You took the name. Right, it's good to see the person that took the name of the company that I wanted. Come through, Oslerato. Why have I lost my place? Okay. She is a highly respected treasury and development finance expert with more than 40 years of experience across South Africa's financial and infrastructure sectors. As founder of Enabling Solutions, she specializes in treasury management, development finance, debt structuring, risk management. Oh, we have to double click on risk management. Risk management, strategic financial advisory. Her career includes senior leadership roles at institutions like Transnet, Eskom, and the IDC, where she led complex funding, treasury, and infrastructure finance initiatives. Oslerato is recognized for combining technical expertise with strong leadership, mentorship, and governance capability. So 2 words that stick out for me: risk and governance capability. She also serves on several boards and audit and risk committees across banking, asset management, and financial services sector. So we are going to do a masterclass, and a masterclass is great after lunch because it's going to be energetic, and she really needs some engagement. So please give her some love and give her some participation as she leads us for the next. Kitsa aska ropane. She wanted like 10 minutes. I'm like, Oslerato, you're going to take 15 to 20, and when you see me stand, it means time's up. Oslerato, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for honoring the graveyard session. I'm the Rato Mangope ni Maposa. Don't take me light. Yes, yeah, my career, like you said, is been around risk management. I started as a risk analyst in a retail risk insurance, and business risk, then asset and liability management, and funding risk, project risk, and other things. So I'm so excited that I'm giving this very interesting topic about structuring capital for growth, and with special focus on saying how project finance, debt, capital market, and infrastructure finance unlock large-scale African investment. And when we're talking about African investment, we're talking also in South Africa. Sometimes we're thinking, when we say African investment, we're talking anything above us. We're talking about us. And by show of hands, I'm going to ask, how many of you know key projects that are currently going to happen or are happening? Yes, ma'am? No, large-scale project. I'm talking like large-scale projects. Okay, just to manage time, we know that if everyone speaks about ESCOM, what do you think? Load shedding. Probably load reduction. But ESCOM has a number of projects that are in the pipeline. And one of the key projects is the transmission lines. We have seen prior that we had a lot of green energy projects coming in, but now that energy has to be transmitted into the grid. And it's a 14-kilometer line. So as the entrepreneurs were talking and the funders were talking here, and I thought, my goodness, I wonder if our entrepreneurs understand the value of large scale, because that's where you start opening up for the other SMEs and medium enterprises to come through. I mean, we have, I don't know how many of you know that we're going to have a gas cliff. We're complaining about water now. In July 2028, the 90% of the gas that we're getting from Mozambique is going to be shut. And that's our source of energy. Then we're going to have gas reduction or load shedding. And when you look at the value chain of those projects once done, you realize there's a space for each and everyone to participate in. And that's where our entrepreneurs should start looking with interest to say, okay, if it's transmission, those that were smart, they took the map and looked at where these lines are going to go, and they bought farms, and they bought farms, and they bought farms. Now ESCOM has to negotiate with them for that transmission line that's going to go above them. So when we listen to the news and we listen to ESCOM, let's not look at the time that we're going to shut out. Let's look at where the opportunities are. On the gas side, there's gas in Richards Bay, still a project is coming. I'm talking about information that's in the public space. And that process is going to have a long value chain up to the gas to you, because they're closing the gap for what we're going to lose in Mozambique. So it has to happen, and it has to happen quick. So it's a matter of us talking about how do we do that. The issue is, how do we fund those type of big scale projects which require 70 billion just to start? I mean, it's not an SME. They require a lot of capital, and we understand the state-owned enterprises, some of them, the balance sheet is not that strong, and the government is not strong also enough to back, back them with a guarantee. So we need various sources of funding. And then project finance is one of them. So project finance, what does it do? It looks at the project, say a gas or a transmission line. It looks at the cash flows, which is the money, that cash flow. Maybe, say for instance, we have seen a lot of private mines have their own gas, green energy solars. What they've done is now they take that solar, but now they lose their energy because they don't know who to supply it to. If ESCOM says, I only need so much, the rest they lose if they don't store it in batteries. So now with the transmission line, they're going to sell it directly to ESCOM. So ESCOM will get revenue, will get money. They have to buy. Okay, thank you very much. So project finance is about packaging a project and understanding where the cash flows will come from. So when banks and multinational want to fund that project, they look into the revenue stream of those projects. So given the fiscal balance of payment, that we don't have enough money as a country, and also looking at the fact that the state-owned enterprises, that balance sheet cannot carry that big amount of project sizes. So what happens now, they scope the project and then put it in such a way that lenders can be interested in it. But you must package that project in a way that is going to interest the lenders. Then we have a debt capital market space, and I think the banks were fair. They did tell us that they only come in there when everything is cozy, because, and I mean, we don't blame them. Regulation says if they give you money and you are risky, they must hold a certain amount of capital. So in order for them to manage that risk, they then call funders who can play with them. They call it debt capital market. They crowd in other lenders who will come with mezzanine funding, like my colleague has just spoken about, which is you need, okay? So debt capital market crowds in the banks, the grants, the DFIs who have a high risk appetite. And if you look the past, I think, 8 to 10 years, investors didn't want to invest in anything, because any project that they have, they really find that there's a PEP, politically influential person or whatever, and the projects are risky. So they sort of took their money and put it in money market funds. So, but you can't put it long there because you're holding money for other people. So what must you do? You must invest in long, high yielding, per the mandate that you are given. So what they do then, the investors, they now coming back to say, listen, let's close this risk gap. Let's close the gap. We can then work with you to package this project if you don't know how to do it. So in project management, structure matters throughout, whether it's the rest of Africa or here, the structure matters. But what happens mainly in most of the African states is that the developmental project narrative is higher than the project preparation. So when they come closer to the project, investor sees holes, okay? So there's a bankability challenge. So now we realize that people have to then come in and sort of look at the risk, who's the off-taker, who determines the tariff, which determines the revenue, is there currency exposure, because most of the things when you're doing project, you'll import them, and then you need dollars for that. And then is there regulatory stability and overall project preparation risk. So it is important, colleagues, that when I came in here, I saw the energy, I saw the vavavoom, I thought, these are the right people to really go and look at each state-owned enterprise or any corporation where there are projects and find out where can they play. At early stage, you engage them to say, I don't want to say little fry. I'm interested in being in this space. I'll come with a technical partner, but tell me where can I play in the value chain. And then when projects are considered ready, there are things that should be looked at when you do large scale. You know, another large scale is that, I don't know where I'm staying, I've been given a notice that tomorrow there's no water. So now Rand Water does all those big projects. So there must be a strategic case for your project. There must be a policy that defines that the reason why you want to do this project. And then there must be the codependencies. In the case of ESCOM, if they want to build a mine, the Department of Mineral and Water Affairs mustn't come and say, no, our board meeting is in 6 months. That interdependency must be linked and interwoven into the project preparation so that it becomes easy to do. And then there must be economic and social case for it. And then in that case, what do we mean? You must have all the options. You must say, okay, I want to do this project. I have a partner that has money, and therefore that partner will reduce our credit risk. And then I have a technical specialist who's a specialist in water. So don't take somebody who did a project in maybe the roads to come and do water, because they must understand the evaporation of water, the cubic, the velocity of water. Get the right people. If we don't have them, import them. Okay? And then there's a commercial case. You must demonstrate the supply side. We know most projects are hindered by the PFMA, because then you must wait and wait and wait. But you can still negotiate to say, we want exemption from the PFMA, because projects are time, money is time. 1 rand today is not the same as 1 rand next year. So we can't wait. So therefore, there's a need for us to speed that up. And then there's affordability case that was spoken about, and is there capital for it? At what gaps are there in your capital structure of your project? And then, and that goes with risk management. Is there an ENS sustainability, and where they have environmental issues and so and so and so? Most important, a management case. A management case is the governance part of it. I've seen a lot of thriving small, medium enterprise saying, I know how to do this, I'm skilled at doing this, but I want somebody to hold my books. I want somebody to do my tax. Yeah, I want somebody to do my tax. I said 10 minutes and I thought I can do it fast. Okay, so now we need governance, you need the right structure, you need stakeholder management. Okay, so there are questions that are aligned to, I've got slides, but I'll give it to you. There are questions that are aligned to the 5 points that I've highlighted. That you say, does the project fit wider policy? Is there a project rationale for that? And then for economic and social, those options, have you weighed them out? Commercially, procurement is an issue. Don't inflate prices, because the project is approved on the basis of cash flows, and it must have that return overall, okay? And then management, I've spoken, and affordability, I've spoken about it. And the market dynamics are at play. I've spoken earlier to say, in the capital market space, owners of capital did take a break a bit and not wanting to fund projects because they want to see through. And that's why they ended with an instrument called a government guarantee. To the government, if things are not well, you pay us, okay? So now, but that shift has happened, and we understand now the government is saying we will invite private sector, so we'll have a lot of SPV, special purpose vehicle, and we'll invite private sector to come with us. They also have a credit enhancement project to say, okay, where there are gaps in the project, let's risk insure them. If you realize that there's a political risk, let's insure them. If there's a first loss, maybe you have the likes of IDC who will come with 5 million and say, okay, that's my first loss. So if anything happened above 5 million, don't worry, we'll fund that. So all that credit enhancement mechanism are coming in handy for projects. And then you have an innovative risk structure which the government is coming up with, where they have a credit guarantee vehicle. It's going to be almost like RAPP, you know, the renewables? But in that one, they've invited the likes of the World Banks and good multinational with high credit to cover that risk where the government was going to give a guarantee. So the private sector will cover and the multinationals will cover that. And then globally, it's nice. They have, the global market is good because they only want to know whether the structure is okay, the governance of that project is right. They also want to know whether you're working well with other industries. So once you promise them and they see the cash flow, they say, okay, there's the money. So, but then you have a currency risk into your project. So in a nutshell, I want to say, as entrepreneurs, SME, the right place to go is find out which projects are currently underway. They're currently at pre-feasibility. I mean, there's a lot of green projects where power stations are being mothballed, and then they're doing other projects. Go there and find out what is there that you can do. And most of the people that write the papers on behalf of the government, they forerun. But now, if they say, where are the people, you realize they put it in a government gazette and somewhere else, and who reads that? Probably we are on TikTok. But now, so who reads that? So let's try and find out where the projects are and then equip ourselves with that knowledge, because that's where the money is. Thank you.
I'll keep that. Thank you so much. I don't know if my mic is on. Who has ever read their IDP for their municipality? Okay, I've got one person here, two people. Okay, so we have like speckles in the room of people that have gone through their IDP. Who is going to go and read their IDP? Because this is essentially what Oslerato is urging us to do. To say the IDPs are documents that are in the system, those government gazettes, and we are sleeping on the job, entrepreneurs, because this is where we're going to find our next pipeline. So please, can we make it just part of just some of the stuff that you do? If you've got people in your R&D in your offices, or you've got a young person in your office from these stipend programs that a lot of us are constantly looking at, get them to be your research assistant and to look for opportunities for us. Oslerato, thank you so, so much. We really appreciate that. I am going to go and read my IDP for sure, so we can go and mine those documents. Thank you so, so much. Please, let's give her another round of applause in thanks. I found a set of keys. Could you look in your bag, look in your pockets, make sure that you've got your car keys? And I'm really triggered by this particular car brand because I used to own one. And then my car got written off, so I'm wondering, if I'm happy to have it, because I know exactly which car you're driving, but I really am happy to take it home. So if you are missing a set of keys, I've got them in my pocket. Please let me know. You can come and get them from me. You're going to have to tell me the car brand first, and then I'll know that it is definitely you. Okay, so we are well on time. I'm happy to report that we have brought our time in check. I'd like Butsfiso Skenjani to please come up with his panel. Lane, Spongile, Wilhelmina, Joanna, Darlene, and Wilhelmina and Joanna. Please could you guys come up? The stage is ready for you. We are going to talk gender lens financing. So when we say gender lens financing, we know we're talking about female entrepreneurs, right? Can I hear Malilizelas from the ladies? I know. If you got a Lilizela like that, you guys are urging me to sing and say, Igama lama kosi gazi malibongwe. Igama lama kosi gazi malibo. So please come up. Malibongwe. Malibongwe. Lane, please come up. I know, so choir, guys. We are going to be record selling everything. So Lane, Sis Bongile, Sis Wilhelmina, Joanna, please can you come up? We are talking impact capital, gender lens mandates, and ESG sector. CEOs must watch impact capital and gender lens investing. And it says where smart money is flowing in 2026. I mean, bestulela nina. In case you're wondering, so please, I'm really keen to understand what is gender lens. I think we hear it a lot. And for the men in the room, I think the gender, we all understand our history of our country, right? Which is why there is such a thing even called gender lens investing. So with that said, really looking forward to this conversation. Swiso, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Igama lami nguSifiso Skenjana usibalikhulu sochenge enhlangwini wathi uma bona lempunzini noma gaduzela sathi gadu. See, I told you they were going to sing for me. I was looking to take my chance to get the songs. Good afternoon, everyone, and of course good afternoon to our esteemed panel. And we're really, I think, looking forward to having quite a robust and engaging conversation. I think about flows of capital, they often say don't have these side conversations before the main conversation because you may take out the juice. But we did have some initial conversations that I think are going to be quite important to also just help orientate our thinking. And so I think just to get the panel going, I'm going to ask my panelists, before I do that, just to introduce myself. I'm an economist by training. I look after a research and advisory business called ESG Analytics. And I also look after now the country's leading sustainability publication called esgnow.co.za. Go check it out. We are doing some incredible things there. And particularly the platform is to make sure that we can tell your impact stories. So come to us and come chat with us. The only sustainability-focused publication in the country as we speak. And then just to get to my panelists, I think it'll be useful for us to have opening statements or opening remarks. I think particularly in the area of work that you occupy, and also then we can color it with some of the context around how do we also then give it a gender lens as a point of emphasis in the way we think about it. Lane, if I may introduce or hand over to you, and I think specifically looking at enterprise development as a particular thrust and opportunity set for small and medium enterprises.
Afternoon, everyone. Quite excited to be part of this panel. As ABSA, we are one of the main sponsors because we're seeing the impact that such seminars have in the community. I am a senior manager within ABSA Enterprise Development, and we look at the 3 pillars. We give entrepreneurs that are making a turnover between 0 and 50 million. We give them access to, firstly, non-financial support, which speaks to mentorship and coaching. Secondly, we give entrepreneurs access to markets because it's one of the challenges that entrepreneurs face. Saying, I'm a good plumber, right? But I don't have markets. We look at partnerships and opportunities to open up doors for them to have access to such. And we also give access to funding. Of course, we are a bank. We give traditional lending. However, within enterprise development, we also look at non-traditional ways where SMMEs don't have collateral. We partner with guarantee funds to see how do we open up doors for SMMEs to access those fundings. Some of the things that we look into is how do we make you funding ready? Because you can want the funding, but when the fund is in front of you, you're not funding ready. So we look at such programs and how do we also open up post-lending. Once you've got the funding, how do we help you sustain your business to be able to meet your financial obligations? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lane. And I think we've come to understand that small and enterprises development through procurement, and we're going to get through that. And procurement as a lever, I think, has been underexplored in the South African context, and really, I think, a meaningful way to really think about intentionally, I think, leveraging procurement as an SME enabler. But we're going to get into that conversation as well. But if I might then hand over to you, Ms. Sibongile Zulu, just for your opening remarks.
All right, I'm Sibongile Zulu from Capital Unlocked. My background is in development finance, in impact investing. Very passionate about small and medium-sized enterprises, enterprises that are typically run by previously disadvantaged individuals, we are putting a ladder for them to and accelerating opportunities for them. The entity that I represent today is Capital Unlocked, which is an impact investing and advisory firm. And interestingly enough, my colleague Lani is speaking about guarantees and how do you pair commercial capital with other impact investing instruments in order to facilitate funding for small businesses. And the entity that I represent actually plays the role in that. So we come up with creative instruments and work with impact investors and connect and try to close this gap, because we all play in different spaces as funders, and we can only do as much as what the regulations allow. However, we feel strongly about collaboration and trying to meet some of the investors where they are, because it's very difficult to try and change a system independently. So I have my colleagues here in the audience, and one of them actually is behind the scenes involved in facilitating a credit guarantee with a commercial bank in order to assist in closing the gap. Our entity may not manage funds directly, but we're able to advise and structure so that the banks can do what the banks are great at doing, and fund managers, and then advisors help them to see and close that gap.
Sure, thank you very much, Swangile. I mean, I think you speak to a point that also is quite dear to my heart. In fact, I was one of the authors of the very first blended finance white paper that went to Parliament in 2016. And the thinking there, we had been doing some work with the Land Bank, and we realized that 91% of their borrowing was going to establish white farmers. And emerging black farmers couldn't access the capital because it was too expensive, to this day. And so we really set out to say, how do we think about innovative financial solution blending that can ultimately make those funds and servicing opportunities accessible to those emerging farmers. As we're hearing, it's still an issue that eludes us, but I think it's certainly, a point that I am going to double click on as well, about meeting the investor where they are. Wilhelmina, good afternoon, and looking forward to your opening remarks.
Hi, my name is Wilhelmina. I'm from EmpowaEntreprenuers Fund. So our fund is gender lens focused, impact investing. We focused on small businesses. Just to take note, gender lens means we're not only focusing on women, we also do focus on men, but expect them to transform their businesses to have women managerial roles and employ women youth as well. So we're not limiting our portfolios only to women-owned. We also like women-managed businesses. EmpowaEntreprenuers Fund has a 10-year track record. We've invested across different sectors, but in the next coming month, we'll be focusing on green energy and economy. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and round of applause, please. Thank you very much. And I think the interesting thing about also where are the new clusters of funding, and maybe let me stay on you. And I think it also relates to the point Mayor Mangapa was making around how do we also step into new opportunities where there may be catalytic capital for us. And so as you're looking at the growth and development, maybe share some thinking around really the new wave of direction of funding into these new and emerging sectors.
So basically when it comes to small businesses, there are different kind of sectors that we're looking at. Specifically, I did mention green energy, but for growth when it comes to women businesses, I'm also focusing on early education as well, healthcare access. Health as well. We believe that women fundamentally, by default, know that industry and they can lead it as well. And we've seen that there are quite barriers that hinder women into getting funding, and those include like collateral requirements when they can't receive any loans from traditional banks because historically disadvantaged women do not possess the collateral to cover it. And additionally, we've seen there's so much information gap. They do not know what funders need and who to direct their funding from. So that is the main focus that we're looking at when we're looking at small women. And us as WDB, we deliberately created a system that looks at women adaptability and their contribution to the economic system and generally creating jobs in the future.
Sure. And I mean, I think that's quite an interesting one on the information gap issue, right? Because even our financial services players have to take 1% of net profit after tax towards financial education, but the financial education is 1+1. There's no emphasis around, for example, targeted interventions from a learning and development point of view towards a gender cluster. And I think these are some of the things that maybe must energize our thinking as well, is that when we're talking information gaps, is that sometimes the information is already funded, it's already paid for, it's just being misdirected and certainly, I think, misappropriated. And maybe just back to the point, Lani, around supply chain as a potential lever for meaningful graduating also of small and medium enterprises. I mean, you guys have done quite a bit of work in getting supply chain readiness, capacity building for SMEs. Maybe let's double click on that and let's hear what you got to say.
Yeah, thank you for that. So yes, our approach as ABSA Enterprise Development, the minute we get enterprises on our program, is no longer about a ticker box. It's about what skills are we developing you towards in engagement with our procurement team. So our programs are structured in a way that we look at how do we give you access to markets, not only in our bank itself, whereby we're saying, okay, do we need people in this division? I remember we had a program, we were calling it Basadi. It was for women plumbers. And we train and develop them, and they are currently suppliers within ABSA value chain. They are supplying ABSA insurance as plumbers, right? So it's about how do we open up those doors within ABSA itself, firstly. Secondly, even with the corporates that we bank with, we look at all those corporates, how can we get the ED beneficiaries to be suppliers within those value chains? And what I like about that is that the procurement buyers will come to us and indicate these are the skills we want. Like Melrato was saying, this is where the gaps are. So when we put people on a program, it's not just to say the one blanket fits all. It's about this is the gap that we're seeing, this is the gap that we're trying to close, especially in the female-led businesses, right? And we also look at some of our partners, like your Proudly SAs, your Smart Procurement, to say, how do we, in such cases, put our female entrepreneurs to meet with different procurement buyers and the customers in the street that come to those sessions. So we're quite intentional, and we prioritize our budget with the lead being on female-led youth and SMEs living with disabilities.
Sure. And I mean, I think that's it's quite important because there's a word called business re-entry rate, and it's a measure of how many times businesses come back into the market after they've failed. And in South Africa, that number is 1.1 times, the global average is 3.6 times. So once failed, always failed, simply speaking, in South Africa. And so I think that becomes really, really critical to stay or get embedded into the system and stay embedded because, of course, and I think there's also opportunities that maybe some of our other ED or EST practitioners can think about, which is work we have done before, where now you're able to use technology to do some preemptive modeling, where you look and say, can we get triggers when our suppliers are going to be at risk, from financial risk, from delivery risk, etc. And so you can get those triggers early so that you actually come in and support before crisis hits. But I think these are the tools and technology available to us now. And I think it's very important how we think about that in building resilience for SMEs. And Sibongile, I mean, to the point that you made, right, about meeting the investor where they are, there's economic theory called the Marshallian district theory, which talks simply around the fact that enterprises tend to thrive when they operate in industrial clusters or industrial commons. And so, how do we think about creating meaningful industrial clusters for SME ecosystems so that investors are more able to discover a larger cluster of operating SMEs?
I'll use an example from the agricultural sector. A few years ago, we were tasked with finding various entities within specific value chains that could be supported with funding to help farmers enabling them to export and also grow their operations. And when we got this piece of work, it was actually a little bit difficult to start off with because it's such a broad spectrum if you look at different types of entities. But we worked as a team and we did a bit of research, and then we realized that instead of going and looking like business by business, we would rather work through associations. So you talk about clusters, and I feel that the agricultural space is quite good at doing this because it's been around agriculture, longevity that we've had, and it's the learnings that we actually get from agriculture. I mean, it's a difficult space, but it can be very innovative, and we think, well, the farmers do the work, and then we go to retail and get products, but the work behind the scenes and the innovation that our own emerging farmers have to do in order just to get products out, there's so much that gets done there. So we went through the process of identifying farmers through farming associations, and we found farming associations which were so well run, just underfunded, but just so on point in terms of identifying high value and how to get the products out. And they were already organized, but what they were lacking was funding for the emerging farmers. And you talk about the commercial farmers, you talk about the land bank. And we then did the exercise of aligning those entities with what is in the National Development Plan, the NDP, so that we say what is the country imperative and also then what is the commercial imperative, and then take it down to the farming side. So I found that taking that model could have been an exercise that could be taken across other industries. And it's 5 years later, and the funding was deployed, and we actually have such amazing success stories that we saw through that. And those farmers had been persevering all this time without knowing where the funding will come from, but the funding was eventually staying in circles and clusters and organizing themselves and talking to each other and sharing learnings and information with very limited resources. And this funding didn't come from government, it was actually from private sector that has enabled that. And now we're looking at a second round of funding for those farming associations. So I'd say that we were not there when those associations were formed, but there are lessons that can be learned from how some of these farming associations actually operate, which can be taken across.
Sure, entrepreneurs, as you can hear, all you need is love. Come together, do a little bit of entrepreneurs Tinder, we'll see what comes out. And in fact, the farmer cluster story out of Kenya for roses is such an amazing case study, specifically speaking to agglomeration or farming clusters as a growth imperative. I think for some of the guys in the room, they want to take something home, something practicable, something useful out of this discussion. And so, if I can start with you, Wilhelmina, 30 seconds, one big take-home opportunity for any entrepreneur in the room who's really thinking about, leveraging some of the expertise you've got.
Just one piece of advice. Don't take every rejection from every funder as a reflection on you. It could be possibly the wrong fund, wrong time. It is not you. It's just, and especially to women, I want to say this. The system was not designed for you. It's a flaw in the system, and it's not you. So keep going. Take every advice as feedback and grow your business. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philomena. Sibongile?
Just to latch on, yes, continue to build your confidence. And I want to share maybe 2 resources. I teach at one of the business schools, and we have a program which is finance, targeted at women. It's a fully funded program. It's run by Gibbs, and it's something to consider. At the end of the program, we also do a matchmaking with funders. We take you from analyzing and understanding your financials. We ensure that you put together a compelling pitch deck. So in terms of resources, I know that entrepreneurs are also tired of hearing training and yes, capacity building. I'm going to speak very briefly and leave that on, on the side. But there is an opportunity to always upskill and upgrade yourself. But if you are someone who feels that you are ready, you have everything in check, we, as Capital Unlocked, we also have a free assessment that we are doing and we are offering, that you can talk to us, you can meet with us, and we can help you to just check and see if everything is ready for a Wilhelmina to look at. So we are happy to also assist with that. So we are available in the room. I've got my 2 colleagues here, Lerato and Nyasha, and it's a quick scan of a QR code, and then we will sit and work through the exercise with you.
Thank you very much. Lani?
I would say to the female entrepreneurs, based on the experience of being a funder, own your business. We see lots of female entrepreneurs. They're good, maybe you're an optometrist, you're good with eyes, but you don't know the nitty-gritties of the business. The minute we ask to engage with you, you come with your partner and he takes over the conversation, which makes us be worried because we prioritize female-led businesses. There are lots of opportunities currently in the market for female-led businesses. As APSA, we are launching a program which will also prioritize women-led businesses. So know the nitty-gritties, know what's happening in your industry, know the governances in that industry, right? The governing bodies in that industry, right? And show up. That's what I would just say. Please engage APSA at our stand for more conversations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just to problematize this conversation, and we had this conversation offline, I think my challenge is to the funders in the room and the guys who do work to support SMEs around wearing 2 pairs of spectacles in how we think about gender funding or gender lens in finance. Because the first thing, companies are looking to finance businesses before they're looking to finance a woman. And so businesses are in different stages, businesses are different types of businesses. You've got survivalist SMEs, you've got innovation-led SMEs, etc. And so first think about what is the business that then enables us to crowd in the gender. Otherwise, we're going to keep looking for gender first and not the businesses, because the businesses we can't find. And so let us wear 2 pairs of spectacles in how we do our segmentation so that we're ever able to better source these female-led businesses, but to be able to also give them solutions that are fit for purpose, given the type of businesses that they are. Siyabulela.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sfiso. You know, Sfiso, as the founder of ESG Now News, I was thinking this was a TV show. I'd just be like, cut, cut, cut. But I can't do that with you. So thank you so much. Well led, such great nuggets. Awesome. Lerato, your phone. Is this yours? Thank you. Awesome. Okay, you're going to take a picture. And while they're taking a picture, allow me to reintroduce who Sifiso is. He's the founder of ESG Now News and managing director. And they do ESG analytics. He's an economist, a strategist, a policy advisor, and sustainability thought leader with extensive experience across economic research, ESG strategy, management, and investment advisory. He is the founder of ESG Now News South Africa's leading sustainability-focused news platform and Managing Director of ESG Analytics. Please give him a round of applause. I thought that was well led. Darlene, where's Darlene? Darlene Menzies, are you in the house? Hey, Darlene. So funny with when you put stuff in the universe and then you get to meet the people behind stuff. So FinFind, please come up as I speak. FinFind is not familiar to me. Just last week, Darlene, we were talking about FinFind because in my other world, we're in a business that matches it's capital, customers, and mentorship for entrepreneurs. And we're constantly asking ourselves, how do we meet entrepreneurs that they need with the right funding? Because there's a lot of funding that's out there, but how do you do the matching? How do I know that if I'm running, I don't know, I'm fixing tires, I'm going to find a funder that is actually looking for that kind of business? So when I saw you, and I was like, aha, here we are. So Darlene is a globally recognized fintech entrepreneur, MSME finance expert, and technology innovator with more than 2 decades of experience. She's the founder and CEO of FinFind. Guys, I'm not even just saying because she's here, you must go on FinFind. I've been on the platform. When they say it's easy to navigate, it's an understatement. It is super easy to navigate. You punch in your details, and because we're also in the fintech space, it's critical to understand that entrepreneurs must not be overwhelmed when they get onto the site. And FinFind is really, really easy to use. Punch in your details, what do you do, how much you want, and then there's a funding list of somebody that might be looking for the kind of money that you're looking for. That's a plug. She's recognized by the World Economic Forum as one of Africa's top female tech entrepreneurs. Darlene is a respected thought leader and speaker on fintech innovation and entrepreneurship, financial inclusion, and SMME development. You must listen with a very keen ear to Darlene. Welcome, Darlene. You've
Thank
got
you so
15
much.
minutes.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Who are the entrepreneurs, the business owners in the room? Wow, that's exactly the audience we need. Thank you so much for that intro. I always say it's great to get an intro like that, but actually the real CV of an entrepreneur, and I think the gentleman before who led the panel said it, how many times you failed? How many times you try to do something, didn't work? I've liquidated, not only failed, completely gone under 3 times since I started businesses 20 years ago. Lost my home, my car, all my furniture. They've repossessed my furniture twice, and been back at my folks in my 30s and my 40s. But failure is actually part of the recipe to success. It's like the baking powder in the cake. And if you're not failing, you're not trying. And that means you're in a comfort place. And the amazing thing about living in South Africa is that there's so many challenges, which means there's so many opportunities. Every challenge presents an opportunity. So when I started I came out of, I never actually went to university, just for my age. I matriculated when I was 86, maybe some of you weren't born. But my parents thought that university was for Americans. We came out of a kind of a poor background, and I never went to university. I started as a bank teller, and I went through the banking system. But anyway, 20 years ago, I left and decided to start a business. And I'd been working in the financial sector for a long time. I understood how to run big budgets. But when I started my own business, I didn't actually know if the debtor owed me or I owed the debtor. Who was the debtor? I knew who the customer was and who the supplier was. And my first failure was what I started doing. I got a tender, I got an opportunity, and then I employed people, and we were building a system. And before I got the payment, I ran out of working capital, and so I started to use my VAT as my overdraft facility. So instead of paying over VAT, I thought, no, well, I'll be able to catch up. You know, we're optimists. And I landed myself in trouble. And what I learned was that sales will bring in the business, but only financial record keeping will keep you in business. So the ABSA lady who spoke from ABSA, who said funding readiness, something we really need to look at. But the thing I've come to chat to you about today is the big game changer for funding. How are we going to change the game? Because it's not working. Do we all agree it's not working? We all want funding. The funders have more capital they're not actually getting enough capital out to meet their KPIs, and yet the entrepreneurs are sitting there saying we're not getting the money. And what is going to tell us how to fix the problem is data. You know, you can guess what the problem is. One lender can tell you what they think the problem is. But unless you've got big data on understanding what the real problem is, then you're always going to have the funders and the SMEs applying for funding missing each other. We've got a big funding gap in this country, 350 billion rand gap between what entrepreneurs need and what is being provided. Yet there is not there's no problem with the amount of money available. And so it's how do we address the supply and demand mismatch? Because the funders aren't providing what the entrepreneurs need. And why is that the case? Because there's no data on small businesses in this country. So this is the thing I want to talk to everyone about. In FinFund, we've had 1.8 million business owners come to FinFund since we started 11 years ago. And why did I start FinFund? Well, I started it because I couldn't access funding. So most of us don't know who all the funders are. I don't know if you know that today there are 316 funders of small business in this country. And between them, they have over 600 finance products for grant, debt, and equity. And amongst all of those offerings, there is plenty of money for us. Well, I must just tell you, I was going to put on this timer, and I've put it on now, so I'll do 5 minutes less, so you can give me an indication. My father said I was vaccinated with a gramophone needle, and for those who don't know what a gramophone is, it's like a record player. So you just press start, and I just talk forever, so you'll have to give me an indication of when I need to keep quiet. But just to tell you that over the last 11 years, we have been collecting data on businesses looking for funding. And funders have certain criteria. The amount of funding you're looking for, what do you need it for, what is your turnover, how long have you been in business, what sector are you in, what gender are you, where are you located, do you have sporadic income or regular monthly income, do you have a point of sale machine. There's a number of different criteria, and each funder sitting in their silo, not able to see the data on people applying for funding, very often we can see that they're just missing the market in terms of how they're putting their products out, including the banks and the way they position it. And so in collecting this data over these years, we put out a report in 2018. In 2018, there was 148 funders. There's now 316. So it's double the funders. Not everyone's still getting funding. Also double the products. But if you want to go and have a look at all the data, because I haven't come here to present that, you go to Access to Finance Report. Nice and simple. It's an Access to Finance Report. That's what you're going to go and look at, .co.za. And you'll see the 2018, done in 2017, launched in 2018, and last year's report. But what all of this data has been telling us, we looked at every funder, government, banks, private sector lenders, fintechs, venture capitalists, everybody, anybody providing funding. We start to have a look at where the gaps are. Now, quite interesting on the last panel, gender. In 2018, there were 32% of the businesses where primary owners were women. Now, it's 4.1% more, yet there are less products that are put together only for women than there were in 2017, 2018. There were 18 products, is now 12. And so it goes to show, again, there's a big data gap. But I promise you, when I start to tell you what the big secret is to how we're going to solve this, you'll all say, no, that really makes a lot of sense. And I want to try and help each one of us be educated around how we can position ourselves for funding. What is the big challenge about funding? People will tell you a million things. Funding readiness was spoken about on the previous panel. What is funding readiness? It means, are you ready to be able to present your business to the funder in the way that they can understand who you are? Because the funder needs to see, can you afford the funding? Are you viable? Are you bankable? And how do we show a bank or a funder who we are? Any ideas? How do we tell a bank? If a bank says to you, right, you match for me a woman-owned business in Gauteng, in construction, you're turning over the right amount of money, you're looking for the right product, you match. How are you going to tell them about your business? Are you viable, etc.? Obviously, it's your financial documents, your management account, your annual financial statement. Now, I won't embarrass any of us, including myself. If I asked you now for your annual financial statements, signed, audited financial statements, could you produce them easily? Last month's management accounts. Most of us as entrepreneurs don't manage our business out of our management accounts. They're there for the accountant. We've got them ready for when we get funding, but very few are looking at them to understand. We understand our bank account, and we understand who we owe and who owes us, and we do this kind of back of the cigarette box sort of understanding, if I get this guy to pay, I'll be able to pay this, and that's generally how, and don't be embarrassed, it's how everyone manages their business. So what we've been trying to explain to funders is, you can ask till the cows come home for the 38 documents, SEDFA, ex-CIFA, average number of documents for a term loan, 38 documents. Now, most entrepreneurs looking for that funding are employing between 2 and 5 people, viable businesses, been going for more than 3 years. Now, you actually need to employ an additional staff member to get those 38 documents together ready for your funding. Now, it's not just them. I mean, SEDFA is supposed to be the last wall of defense for funding. If no one else can, if you can get it from nobody else, go to SEDFA. But yet, that's the type of rigor. And they're looking for annual financial statements, management accounts, shareholders' agreements, and the statements of assets and liabilities for the directors. Most of us don't even know what those things are. And so we're at this terrible situation where it's like going onto a dating site. I call FinFind the Tinder of SME funding, because you've got all the funders on the one side and you've got all the entrepreneurs coming in looking for funding, and then we match you, and at the end of the process we say, of these over 600 funds, only these 3 match with you, and this is what they need from you. That's simply what we do. But we don't go on the date with you. We can tell you match, and it's a bit like going on a dating site. Maybe you put a photo 5 years ago, pre-COVID, curves, whatever. Now they want to meet in person, and they want to actually see, do you match up to all these things that you've put on there? And the way that a funder will do that is by looking at your documents. Now, if you can't produce your documents, this is the big problem. I'm telling you, there's one other problem I'm going to tell you now that you can fix, but this is the big problem. Now, I'm not going to say to you, we do need to fix our financial readiness, but we also need to change the system, because if it's not working, we need to fix it. I've been in funding for many years. This has always been the challenge, funding readiness. So the game changer is what we call alternative data. Now, it sounds like some kind of, thing that we'll never get to. All alternative data is, it's not traditional data. Traditional data is your document-heavy, big pack of things that you've got to attach to a funding application. Alternative data is essentially your digital footprint, your business bank account, your point of sale transactions. If you open, how many of us want to go and get a cell phone contract as business owners, and you walk in there and you say, I want to get a cell phone contract in my business name, and then they give you another list, about 16 documents, including financial statements. So you walk out the door and you come back in and you say, I'd like to get another cell phone account in my personal name, and you get that very easily. It's how the system works. The problem is the way that the future's going is this. In other countries, gentlemen mentioned Brazil, what we do is we take 12 months banking transactions from a business bank account, and we feed it into a machine learning opportunity, and it produces immediately your income statement with affordability, all your ratios that the lenders are looking for, and it produces what the lender needs to look at to see, does your photo match with what you said? Are you viable? Can you afford the funding? And so we are working very strongly with the regulators at the moment, the FSCA, the South African Reserve Bank, the NCR, and a couple of, to say to them, we need to educate entrepreneurs that the data sitting at the bank, including APSA sitting here in the front row, belongs to who? To you. It is your data. They are the data holder. You are the data owner. The data sitting in telcos, who does it belong to? It belongs to you. The data sitting at all the point of sale machine you've been using. And so the way that Brazil and other emerging markets, developing countries are going is this. Let's say you come to FinFind. We connect it directly to Home Affairs and SIPSI, so we check, this is your ID. It that RECID phone number. We can pull your data down. You're a director of these companies. Which ones do you want funding for? This one. Then we say to you, do you give permission to access your business bank account and your personal bank account? And that data gets pulled into an engine, and it creates the financial picture, the annual financial statement type of picture that the lender needs to create a score in order to fund you. So what I want to say to you today is, first of all, start using a business bank account. And most of you probably already are if you're here. And when you do, don't go and draw 20,000 and then be paying people in cash. Let all your transactions be seen through your bank account, because that way it's very easy to score. That's the new way of scoring. It's called transaction scoring. Now, why are we having to do transaction scoring? The reason is this. Who's heard of a credit score? We all know a credit score? Yes. Who knows that in South Africa, you can get a personal credit score very easily, but I can tell you, each of you now, if you go and try and get a business credit score on your business, firstly, it'll be a very thin file, and secondly, it'll be very expensive. And why? So I'm going to explain this in the last however many minutes. 2, right, double time. If you're an individual, Darlene goes to the bank to get a loan in my personal name. What will they do? They'll go to a credit bureau and they'll ask for my credit score. Now, what your credit score does, it basically tells you, based on how much money you've lent in the past, were you a good payer or were you a bad payer? And if you've got a good credit score and they pull the report and they can see you've borrowed money, it's good if you've had credit before. If any of you are using cash, you're out of you're living in the 70s. These days you have to have a credit score because it's the only way you're going to be able to get credit. And so what happens then is they say, okay, let me see. Let's say I was employed, I wasn't an entrepreneur. They'll say, let me see your pay slip. Okay, let me see your credit score. And then they say, okay, so far the credit score tells me the report that you've borrowed X amount. You've still got a capacity for a bit more. We'll lend you money. Very easy. You show how you get your income. They see your credit score, how much credit has been extended. Now, how do they get that information? Every single credit provider in this country, whether you're a bank, whether you're giving a lease on a car, every month government mandates that you have to provide that information to a central body called SACRA. Darlene borrowed this amount of money, she paid this month, she didn't pay this month. Happens to, your Edgar's account, retail, whatever you do, if you've been extended credit as an individual, not as a business, that credit provider has to give that information. And from that information, they give it to the credit bureaus, and that's how they get your score. But it doesn't happen for business. In the National Credit Act, there is no requirement for people that lend money to businesses to share that information if they're lending to businesses turning over more than $1 million or asking for more than 250,000. And so that is where they're all sitting. They're flying over that mark, so they don't have to report because they don't want to be sharing that information. And so what happens is we can see most of the products start at asking you for more than 250 or for businesses turning over more than $1 million. Now, the data shows that 85.6% of businesses applying for funding at the moment are businesses that are viable, that are turning over less than R1 million. So this is what the banks and everyone have to do. They can't look at a business credit score because there aren't business credit scores in the country. If you go to a credit bureau and you get a business credit score, it's normally from a business who's a more established business, who maybe the bank lent to, and the credit bureau has bought that data, which is why it's so expensive. But for the average businesses here in this room, you'll find there's no credit score. So that's why the business, if you can't give your annual financial statement and they can't get a credit score, how the hell can they fund you? Because they don't know who you are. Are you viable? But what they look at is your owner's personal credit score. Even if you're applying for business funding, they look at your personal credit score. So a tip for today, if you know that there's something wrong with your credit score, don't hide. Go and face it. Get it sorted out. Find out, can I make a payment plan? $20 a month, 100 Rand a month. As soon as there's a payment plan, they'll lift some of those judgments off. Because the way that ABSA, SEDFA, all of the private lenders, including, and I'm not just picking on ABSA, it's because the lady was here, every bank, even the fintechs, you look at all of these that are advertising, Lulaland, BizCash, Pollen, Retail Capital, every single one of them even though they require less information because they're giving short-term working capital that's unsecured, they want the owner's credit score. So make sure, firstly, the end of the month, pay yourself a salary. Don't pay your staff first and your suppliers first, thinking you're saving your business. Pay yourself a salary, and the next day, pay it back to the business. So the money's back in the business, and you can pay everyone, because then when the bank looks, they say, oh, Darlene got the same amount every month. Never mind, the next day I transferred back into the business, and then I paid everything I needed to. Why? Because they look at your personal bank account. If you've got stuff that you owe personally, pay it first, get it paid. Let your credit score be good. So in ending, the game changer is this. Get a digital footprint. Know that you own that data. Make it available so that lenders can use it for scoring, and then you don't have to have such a heavy lift as far as funding readiness is concerned. I really got a lot more to tell you, but time's up. Thanks so much.
Sure. Darlene. Thank you, Darlene. I feel like we should ask all the lenders to step out for a minute so that Darlene can give us more tips on how to get this thing right. Thank you, Darlene. That was so informative. Oh my goodness. Please give her another round of applause. So please, let's take Darlene's advice and please go to ABSA. We've got a lot of the business bankers here today who would be able to assist you. If you are not already an ABSA client, this is an opportunity for you to get yourself an ABSA bank account. And bankers are great in the sense that they know all the right questions to ask you, and they are here to help us. So as Darlene said, let's not hide, everyone. Let's not hide. Go and talk to a ABSA business banker. There is a QR code that you can also grab at the back, and they will be able to assist you. We really are appreciative of ABSA as the Mureki for the summit, and may they continue long. So let's give ABSA a round of applause, please. And as you know, they did bring a lot of people in this room to this session for all this empowering information. Brian, where are you? Brian, hey, Brian, please come up. Brian is going to do an amazing short 15-minute presentation on how to be bankable. So we've been hearing how to be a bankable business, how to be investor ready. We are going to get practical advice because this is what he does on the daily. Brian is capital raising and deal structuring lead at Strategics Capital. He is an investment and structured finance specialist leading capital raising and deal structuring at Strategics Capital. So he is an investment and structured finance specialist, everyone. So everything that he's going to share with us today is from a place of knowing, because this is what he does on the daily. A CFA charter holder, his career spans global institutions including Morgan & Stanley, PwC, EY, with a professional experience across New York, everybody, New York, San Francisco, Johannesburg, and East Africa. So we've got somebody that is affair with what happens in South Africa, on the continent, and also overseas. So he really does know what he's talking about. He has led and advised on major transactions, including large-scale infrastructure financing, mining acquisitions, debt restructuring initiatives. He's also a co-founder of Credify Africa, where he successfully raised venture funding to support fintech innovation and financial inclusion across the continent. So for the next 15 minutes, get out your book, put on your recorder, because we're going to know in real terms from a person that does this stuff on a daily basis, how do we become investor ready? Yes.
Thank you. Salibonani, Dumelang, good afternoon. My name is Brian. I think I should have had some sort of presentation. You said presentation, I did not. I felt, I want to make this as natural as possible, right? So, and I think I want to start by a thesis that I have, right? And I think it's going to piggyback off of what Darlene said. My thesis has got an A and a B. It's heads and tails, right? So the tails side of it is there's this misconception across the continent that there isn't enough investable or bankable projects in Africa. I very much disagree. I believe I'm sitting in a room looking at many incredible entrepreneurs, founders, business owners. I've been a founder myself, so I very much always try to challenge that side because especially, and I'm going to speak more for the African continent, which is a very diverse market, and then I'll come more into South Africa. We have such a young, dynamic population, and I think that we're constantly and consistently, coming up with the most innovative things in the world. So I want all of you entrepreneurs in this room to give yourselves a round of applause for that, please. So that's misconception one. Misconception two is that there's not enough capital looking for opportunities in Africa. I think as Darlene was speaking, she mentioned a number of 360. I very quickly ran to Claude and I'm like, Claude, how many investors are there in South Africa? And the number I got is well over 1,000. Well over 1,000 different investors. And she's completely right because I deal with these people every single day. The hardest thing for them is what they call dry powder. You will not believe how many meetings I'm on every single day with guys calling me saying, Brian, I've got a 100 million fund we just closed, $100 million, by the way, which is 2 billion rand. We need to deploy that in 5 years. Help me. Most of them always get fund extensions. They're running out of opportunities to invest in, or they're not finding them. So where is the gap? Sorry, I had a water. Yeah. Where is the gap? Sorry about that. I was a little nervous presenting. There we go. It's normally a good sign. So where is this gap in the funding, right? And it's a term that we call bankability. Now, bankability is a journey. I took some notes. And I spent some time trying to ask myself, what is bankability from the perspective of an entrepreneur? What does it mean, right? And I'm going to be a bit technical, but I want to touch on the main points or the things that I want you to walk away from after leaving today's session. The first and most important thing is understand who the hell you are as a business. What are you selling? What is it? What market are you addressing? How big is that market? Is my market my township? Is my market my province? Is my market my country? Is my market my region? Is it the SADC region or is it the African continent? There's an incredible amount of opportunity, from those little microcosms as they expand, and understand that market very well. And then who am I as a business? Am I selling, am I in the business of selling time, which is what I do? Am I in the business of selling a commodity? Am I in agriculture? Am I, building a large infrastructure project where we'll be selling space on the road and charging a toll? So really understand that more than anyone else in the room. And I very much encourage the women in the room. I don't have the exact stats, but it's been said that women-led businesses tend to survive failure at an X amount of times more than men-led businesses. There's a level of resilience in them. So understand that fact and be able to articulate it very well. Be able to put on that English and sit in that room and make sure that you can speak to your numbers, you can speak to your people, your customers, you can speak to your story. If you don't have a nice story of why you started the business, make one up, but make sure you know that story. So that's the one thing. That's the one thing. Know your business. The second thing is, please document your journey. And the only way to document your journey is your financial statements. As our incredible Darlene was able to communicate, make sure your financials are on point. These days, there's QuickBooks, there's many other AI tools. Make sure that by the time you go to sit with a banker, with ABSA, you don't even have to say anything. They just send you an email, kind regards, attached. That's the kind of business that you want to have. And I've also had the opportunity to be a business owner twice. First, as a farmer in Hammanskraal, selling mrogo and cabbage. This was 3 years ago. It was very difficult. I was using my salary to fund my business, but I made sure that every single transaction down to, there was a lady, Jackson. There's a guy called Jackson who had to make sure every 2 days he gets his cigarettes. I made sure that even his company expense that's coming from his salary, it shows up in my financial statements. So please document that. At the end of every month, go to QuickBooks, click a button, you have your financial statements. And then on top of that, once you have your finance manager, please, spend once a month having them guide you through understanding them. And then I think, I'm not sure how much more time I have, but I think the one thing that I really want to touch on, which speaks more to what I do, is understanding the capital markets, right? We spend a lot of time speaking about ABSA, speaking about financier, speaking about working capital. Understand what that is. That is debt. What does debt imply? Debt implies that from day one, the minute I get this money, every single month or every single 6 months or every single XYZ, I have an interest payment to make. So make sure before you go to look for capital, what kind of capital do I need? Am I an entrepreneur who's getting started, who's got a great idea, who may or may not be able to meet revenue this month or next month, or then maybe what you need isn't ABSA. And I think ABSA actually does have products within the bank that looks at the other side of the balance sheet, which is equity. And within equity, what do I need? Do I need a venture capital type equity who will take a risk and allow me to figure it out? Do I need private equity that needs me to have operated for 3 to 5 years and be able to, I'm looking for money to scale? Am I looking for a hybrid of debt and equity that sits somewhere in the middle? So understand that and understand the universe of players that sit within that space. There's hundreds of different funds that fund everything from 10,000 Rand to 10 billion Rand in that one space. So understand them, know who they are, research them. Debt, understand the different forms of debt. Understand that there's working capital, there's long-term debt. There's what are the interest terms, what is the cheapest form of debt? More importantly, what kind of business am I running? Am I exporting to Mozambique or wherever, where I'm generating US dollar financing or US dollar revenue? Then maybe going to ABSA and getting a Rand facility isn't the best for me. Maybe I should be seeking some sort of US dollar financing because it's going to be cheaper. So I think that's where I really want to touch on in terms of understanding the different types of capital. And then lastly, understanding your journey in the business life cycle, right? The business life cycle, there's early stage growth, there's, I'm 5 years in, I'm looking for expansion, I'm at maturity, I'm looking to recycle. So really understand that journey and be able to communicate that very specifically to your different potential investors. And then bankability, which I think is the closing part of this chat. The most important thing, again, is being able to sell your story on a piece of paper. So if that means you spend 3, 6, 9 months under really, painting that story, using AI as much as you can if you need to, invest that time, invest that money. I think that's really the story I had to tell, and I hope I've been helpful in one way or the other. Thank you.
Hi, Brian. We were sitting there thinking, you don't sound nervous at all. I see that. I see the mess. Thank you so much, Brian. That was so practical and it's good to speak to somebody that does, as I said, does this on a daily basis. So thank you so much. And don't doubt yourself. I know you've got this. You've got this covered. Thank you. Please give Brian another round of applause. You guys have been a great audience. We are actually in our last executive chat, our last panel discussion that's going to be led by Kuti Mbedzi. If you and your panel members could come up. I've got Mr. Bongani Ntombela, Silelo, Noluvo, Neil. If you guys could all please come up. And while you do that, let me tell you a little bit about Ms. Mbedzi. She is a CA, and I love accountants who then have this kind of story, because then she's now an executive coach. It's called Coaching with Magic. So this I want to see. Where is Kutuye? When accountants, I thought accountants are stiff and boring, and then okay, there we go. So executive finance leader, CEO and founder, Coaching with Magic. She's a chartered accountant, executive finance leader, and governance specialist with extensive experience across developmental finance, banking, public sector leadership, education, and defense technology sectors. She is the founder and CEO of Coaching with Magic. She's held senior executive CFO roles at organizations including the NYDA, Rand Merchant Bank. She's also an experienced board and audit committee member with a strong passion for transformation, governance, and excellence. This last panel is going to bring it all home because the title for this session is How Corporates Employ Supply Chain Capital and How SMMEs Capture It. This lady and I were on a session just last week, actually, and she's got lots of money to give, guys. So if you guys have got business proposals, they run an amazing fund that just has a different way of looking at funding applications. So I implore you to look at Nolan and say, hey, Dudu said, doctor, say, Dr. Dudu said, we must talk to you. Awesome, enjoy the conversation. You have 20 minutes.
Thank you. Let's give Dr. Dudu a round of applause. She has been commending everyone in the room, and can we just tell her how amazing she has been riding this flight? Please clap for her again. So this is the last shift. Are we still here? Okay, sometimes the best is for last, okay? Do we have value people in the room? The value people are always the ones who stay, the ones who want to ask more, the ones who still say there is more, we are not done. I will not go until I have my answer. I felt like there would be an amen, okay? This lovely panel, as already introduced, we will be bringing everything together. We have been speaking about fund readiness. What are the things that we need to do? And Brian came and talked to us about you can bank on it, you can put a... Okay. But he said there is a gap, right? And that's when he needed to drink water. And I think there's something there. Because sometimes, how many of you know that even in private sector, they tender? But then those who tender in government, they call it tenderpreneurs. Even corporates, even the banks, even the conglomerates, okay, tender. It's just that sometimes we call it proposal, right? We call it different names, but it's tendering. It's basically saying, this is how I'll add value and give me your money, and this is what I'll use it for. Now, this panel is going to speak to something that also Butsfiso spoke about how ESD is one of the key drivers and where we can bring value as entrepreneurs, but it's also under-tapped, and that's because there's misunderstanding. Now, this lovely panel will be dissecting some of these lies or some of these things that make us not even go into those platforms. ESD stands for Enterprise and Developmental Supply Development, Enterprise and Supplier Development, okay? Now, enterprise is different, supplier is different. You can be an enterprise without being a supplier in a corporate, but for you to be developed further, you need to first be a supplier. Now, I will not be an expert today. I am just a facilitator of this 4 different organizations and the executives in those organizations. All of them in their bios have things around strategy, sustainability, and they're all very passionate about SMME, and that's why they're here. Now, I will start with the person next to me, Babongani. We have not met, so I'm assuming you are Babongani. Yes. So, Babongani is the owner or the CEO of 22 on Sloan, okay, and they support SMMEs to become procurement ready. Now, the question I have for you is, what is actually the gap that is causing SMMEs or entrepreneurs to not tap into this ESD space? What are some of those blockages, if any, that you have noticed as you're working with SMMEs?
Thank you, Program Director. My title is I'm the executive for the programs at 22 and Sloan. Thank you for inviting us. Good afternoon to my colleagues and friends. I will put it this way. We at 22 and Sloan were doing a very difficult job. We're doing a difficult job by capacitating someone whom I will make an example of wanting to go into a relationship, but he does not understand who she is, and he has divorced so many times. And he always blames the wife, that it is the wife, it is not him. And we look at the jockey and how to rise this horse. It's a difficult position where we look at the personality of the SMMEs. That is a big gap. You come across someone who says, I'm going to the gym, but he has never studied how to eat. And he's telling you, no, I'm going to pull those still and pump and I'm going to be healthy. But you can look in his records or her records, there are no study that he has gone to on how to eat. He's telling you, no, I've been alive on this world for too long. And that is the type of the SMM that we go to. And hence, the previous speaker, Darlene and Brian, spoke about record keeping. So the big gap there, how do you keep record? Bongani is an entrepreneur. He is not a record keeper. And therefore, Bongani must employ someone who is so passionate about keeping record. Bongani go and eat out at the restaurant, meeting a client. He comes back and suddenly you ask, where are the sleeps? And they said, what sleeps for? You had lunch. And we need to keep those sleeps. So there is that gap where the personality is the biggest challenge. We spoke about earlier about the credit record. The company is not going to enter the credit record. It's your behavior that you drive a car, it costs more than R1 million, but you go and want to borrow a 500,000 rand. The bank is going to look at your asset and say, but you at a personal level, you are this high, but the company is this low. So there's this disjuncture between what you own and what the company owns. Your assets are higher than what the company has. So there's those type of things that we come across, and it makes us look bad when we stand to teach you that, no, be mild in what you want to buy at a personal level. Don't be extravagant, because you are here to represent an organization, not yourself. Then we go to the joke itself then to say, what operations, SOPs, the word SOPs is a foreign word to most people. What is the workflow and all those kind of stuff. Market access is, I will see what I can do tomorrow. I don't know who my customer is, but don't worry. I've got a friend of mine who knows someone who knows someone. And that's how I'm going to get my business. So how do you help that person to make sure that that company is doing what it's supposed to do? Lastly, specialties. What are you specializing on? Because the company, for example, Transnet, may want to help them to solve a complex problem of train derails. You need to be a scientist, proper studies, you are registered with the engineering association and so on and so on. So if you are not a specialist, you are a generalist, the chances of you getting work that gives your company respect are very slim. So those are the gaps that we have found. A lot of generalists, but very little specialists in them. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that, sir. And what I'm hearing from you is that people want the funding, but they don't even yet fully define what they need the funding for. And moving to Edge Growth, Sisnolu Vonela, the name is there, so I'm not going to read. You work at Edge Growth, and Edge Growth is one of the biggest funders, and they also are very intentional about mentorship and capacity building. So how do you design and develop programs that enable entrepreneurs? We have heard the challenges, right? And studies has already shown why companies actually fail. So it is a known fact. How then do you design programs that eliminate or remove the challenges and enable and capacitate SMME owners to actually become growing businesses that are actually sustainable?
So, thanks for that. In our space, we are an ESD fund manager and program manager. So we are at the intersection of the corporates that are investing in the SMEs, and then with the entrepreneur and walking a journey with them of the funding. Post-funding is where the journey really is, with the post-investment support and understanding what their challenges are. And what we've learned over the almost 20 years that we've been in the space is funding is the catalyst that the business needs to achieve the growth that it's looking for. But business growth is sustained through access to markets. Business growth is also sustained through the right skills within your business. And the opportunity in the ESD space is that the market, one of the market opportunities sitting right there with the corporate investor. So we do focus a lot on making sure that there's alignment, that we are not doing tick box exercises. We're not just here for compliance. The frustration point or the need on the corporate side is we would like to procure locally. We would like to procure from transformed businesses, but when we look at our ecosystem, we can't see the businesses that will meet all our requirements. So supporting the entrepreneurs pre and post funding to ensure that you can make that criteria is an important factor. Beyond the funding. On the corporate side, though, it's also intentionally looking at what does success then look like. It looks like businesses coming into the supply chain if they're not already in the supply chain, and also having diversified customers and not just that one corporate that is linked to the funding that you've received. So it's very important that we look at everything holistically. Mentorship is very important throughout the life cycle of the business. At the stage that the business receives funding and has a specific plan and tries to achieve this, the support needed is different to when the plan is well in swing and the business is growing and evolving, and now you used to have a business with 5 staff and 1 major corporate client, and 3 years down the line you've got a business with 3 corporate clients, and you've had to grow your team above 10, and you're dealing with not being able to outsource a bookkeeper that you send things to via email and don't even necessarily have to see on a weekly basis, to needing to have a financial manager in your business. So there's continuous support to make sure that the business grows beyond where it was when it initially needed funding, and that needs intentional post-funding support and intentional partnership with the corporate behind the funds.
Thank you for that. So there is money, and you guys are taking what the mandates from the different clients that give you money, because corporates need to spend a specific amount based on however money they make in terms of revenue for their BEE credentials. And some private companies don't actually take those things seriously, right? And there are those that are intentional. Now coming to maybe Neil, Mr. Gahan, I hope I'm saying your surname right. What are some of the readiness that entrepreneurs sitting in this room can actually do to access? I know we have been speaking about it, but from a strategic point of view, and also the work that you've done over the years as a financial expert who has years and years and years of experience in this field, someone is sitting here and they are here saying, I want the last squeeze of value. What would you say to that entrepreneur who's saying, can I go into the ESD space?
Yeah, I think also if I can just go right to the beginning, because we talk about gaps, but there isn't a single gap. We have to view it as a compound gap. And you have to view it in terms of the corporates, in terms of those guys that sponsor the ESD programs, and then very much on the SMMEs/entrepreneurs. And I think one of the key challenges is with an SME environment is related to their overall strategy. What is their long-term view in terms of where they're going? Because that speaks to a number of particular issues. It would also address what sort of ESD program you want to enter. You need to step away from the idea of thinking about jumping from one program to another. you know, at the end of the day, and thank you so much, I think my colleague from Edge Growth really gave amazing input there, and we completely agree. We're on the same page. SMEs need to start viewing themselves in a particular ecosystem and what their strategy is. And that then will determine how they pick and choose what sort of program they need to access. Also, you know, enterprise room, if we look at Edge Growth, from a pre-investment point of view, we follow very similar activities to capacitate SMEs to get them to what we refer to as an investable threshold. In other words, we look at those various things like, have you got a proper business model? Have you got a proper financial model? Have you got a proper strategy? What capacity do you need in the business? You know, I actually sat on an investment committee yesterday, and we had an application from a lady that's looking for funding for a logistics company. So she wants to buy 2 companies, 2 trucks, I beg your pardon, and trailers. It was in a region of about 4.5 million rand. And there was a corporate ESD involved, but they weren't prepared to commit an off-take arrangement to ensure that she had tonnages. So fortunately, our investment committee is linked to them, and I said, actually not acceptable. The corporate needs to step up. So you need to realize that you have value determined by the ESD and I don't want to say value chain, because everyone talks supply chain, value chain. There's more to it than that. You need to look at the systemic or the ecosystem which was mentioned. What is the intersection of the different value chains, and how can all of those benefit to you? That will then determine what sort of ESD program. You need to do your homework. What does the ESD program offer? If it's training, run. I'm so tired of training. Everybody has accredited training. I'm so delighted for you. Fantastic. You know, yes, you need capacitation. We're not all a financial expert. But it's not put you into a group with 20 other people, run a quick training and say, tick box, we've done it. Well done, you're all trained. You know, you've got training, you've got training, you've got training. And if you check under your chairs, there's a voucher for free training. Why? You need somebody who's going to be a strategic partner. And yes, there is a little bit of training. I can be trained on marketing, believe me. I haven't got a clue. Okay, I'm not a marketer. Mine is more finance. So we all have gaps, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be the marketing person. I need a strategic partner that's going to come in and say, we will provide you with that capacity, so that a resource can be allocated to your business on a fractional basis to build that capacity in your business. Can you pay for it? Stop looking for free handouts. And funders, stop offering grants, please. And please don't say you bet on the jockey. I sat with a funder the other day and I said, I'm delighted you're betting on the jockey. The horse is dead. Okay, is your horse alive or not? Is it growing? Is it ready to start racing? Is it a thoroughbred or is it a plonker? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the plonker. It has a role, it has value to add. And that is, so what I'm using that analogy for is, where is your business? Then you need to do your homework. What does your business need? Capacitation, compliance. The number of people who come in and say, I want funding, I don't have financial statements, I haven't got a cash flow statement, I don't know where my business is going. Okay, that's where the ESD program must be able to assist you with that, so that you can get to a point and get financing. What is financing? The speaker just before said you need to be specific about it. Unfortunately, that first step is missing. So a lot of SMEs don't have, they haven't achieved a pre-investment. And it's a desperation move where you're chasing money, but that money has a cost. Do you have the ability to absorb that money? Too much money at the wrong time is sabotage.
That's so true.
So, I mean, I keep hearing about there's a 350 billion rand shortfall in providing funding for SMEs. Why does everyone keep coming to me looking for pipeline of SMEs? So the money is there, and if you have a valid business case and you have all of those capacity compliance, you've got a plan, you can do a proper elevator pitch and sell yourself, sell your business. A bank will give you the money. Forget about the ESD program. Okay, but maybe the ESD can capacitate you to get to that. So those are the big gaps. Sorry, I've gone on a bit long. I do apologize.
No, thank you for that. So ESD can be used for non-financial, but it must ultimately lead you to financial access, okay? And I want to speak to...
Sorry, one more thing. That's great. You've got money, you've got capacity. If you don't have a proper market, retire. And if somebody who's offering an ESD program doesn't look at how to catalyze either direct market access for them, as well as trying to facilitate access to other customers in that overall ecosystem. Okay, that needs to be looked at, please.
I could see Glenn wanted to swear there, but he held himself. So I want to ask Selelo, who is from the Competition Commission of South Africa. Now, we've spoken about barriers to entry, even what entrepreneurs are not doing to actually access what is out there. What are you, as the commission, seeing from a participation, right, in the market in terms of entrepreneurs? And what are some of the things that maybe as a commission you are seeing that you can leave the room with to enable them to actually go for it? I want you to talk to the mind, especially mindset.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for the question. Look, there is a couple of barriers, especially for SMEs in this country. There's structural barriers that we would see. There's compliance requirements. There is licensing requirements that in some industries require. I think there's levels of qualifications that are required, for example, in some construction work, in some medical and pharmaceuticals. If you're an entrepreneur there's a whole lot of laws and standards and regulations that you need to understand. I mean, there's also some laws and policies around municipalities and bylaws, and there's your banking laws and our regulators like us and SARS there that everybody needs to be aware of and comply with. In some instances, those can be a lot, and they can be a barrier for some small businesses. But also, on the other hand, those are also to protect the same small businesses and to enable them to participate in markets. But yes, we do acknowledge the structural barriers, such as in some instances you'd have municipality bylaws that says for you to operate a particular type of business here, you need to get to convert this kind of property from A to B, for example. So obviously as government, we need to look at those, but with an eye of an SME to say, how does an SME bridge this kind of gaps? What can we do to assist them as a government to be aware first of some of these requirements and to also be able to jump them without losing interest in the business or without even finding alternative ways around the systems. But we also, in our day-to-day work, we find a lot of behavioral barriers in the market. And by behavioral, I mean behavior by big corporates in many instances where there's particular conduct that an ordinary small business would not be able to enter or even compete in that market unless someone comes in and fix what is happening. For example, we have cartels in markets where certain industries would be owned and controlled by one or two players that have existed in the market. And if you are a new, innovative, small business and you're trying to enter that market, I think you have mentioned that if you don't have access to market, you might as well close shop. So if there's no room for you to break that cartel, or there is no government processes that will break that cartel, you are unlikely to be able to enter and succeed. And we have seen a lot of behaviors by these big firms that are really negatively affecting small businesses. There's also behaviors that also come with deep pockets, sourcing products, inputs, pricing, and those kind of behaviors. We see them a lot in business, and they keep us busy as the Competition Commission. They keep us busy to try and catch the thieves so that we can level the playing field for small businesses to also participate in this economy. So there is both the structural side and the behavioral side, and we are working in both areas to try and eliminate these things. The behavioral side takes a lot longer because it's investigatory, it's litigation, it's costly, but it is our primary mandate to ensure that we include SMMEs in the economy. So we do see those a lot in the country. Actually, worldwide, there is those kind of problems. Behavioral issues by big firms are the biggest contributors to SMMEs not being able to participate in the economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we give a hand for this panel? And I think in just wrapping up everything that was said, as an owner, own your things. Know your business, know how to communicate it, have the financial statements. If you're not the one to do it, hire someone to do it. I always tell entrepreneurs, because I work with entrepreneurs now in the coaching advisory business that I do, that if you don't do your numbers, if you don't know how to explain your numbers, even if you're sitting in front of an investor, it doesn't matter how much feedback you have of your product, it doesn't matter how much feedback you have of your services. Numbers is everything. Cash is still king. Whether it's cash in transit or cash in investment, whether you want cash, you still need to go back to the numbers. And don't rob yourself and say, I will not get an accountant. And also make sure you get qualified accountants, because there's also a thing going now, okay? So don't use ChatGPT and submit and send. Or don't also lie and say your business earns revenue over $1 million. And then now you are asked for documentation, and now you are fictitiously starting other things. There must also be an ethical way in doing what we need to do. So let's stick to what was said. Capacitate, okay, meaning have the right people with the right skills. And then what is the second? Have financial information that is ready and reliable. And then also work on your market access. And all these lovely people, take that. Did you follow them on LinkedIn? Because that's another thing about these events. You come, you listen, you get overwhelmed, you leave with so much information, but you never take their details. I've already followed all of them. So you do the same, okay? And all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
For our accountant, please. I'm taking a Mickey out of the accountants. Well done, guys, for staying the long haul. I think what you said, those that stay at the end are those that really, really want to get everything out of a day, everything out of an opportunity. And you guys have shown that you are that caliber of person. So Tony, where's Tony? Tony G. Tony, I feel like Tony and I are following each other, because this is like the second time I'm seeing you in the last 2 weeks, right? Were we not together at her economy event? Look at that. Hello. Tony is with Brand South Africa. She's a stakeholder relations and reputation management executive. She's a seasoned stakeholder relations, corporate affairs, and reputation management professional with more than 12 years experience. You know, when I started today, I did say that when I look at people's profiles, I try to look and see what do they have that I don't, what are the skills that I am going to need to beef up on. And let me just say, your profile has to be my profile. Yeah, so there we go. So I am going to be you. You're going to be my coach. Thanks, guys. She's agreed. Now, I saw you agreeing to be my coach. Very good. Thank you, coach there. Tony holds a bachelor degree in industrial and organizational psychology, communications and social sciences from the University of the Free State, and she's currently completing her master's in development studies. Her expertise includes strategic stakeholder management, public relations, community engagement, reputation management, and she's here today to talk to us about Brand South Africa and how we can all play our parts. I think active citizenship is something that all of us should endeavor to do. We should understand what's happening in our country. We must understand what are the levers that are making us cool to the rest of the world. How are we getting people into this country? And how are we contributing to the brand called South Africa? So Tony, you are driving us home. Okay. You are the drive time show today.
Thank you for that pressure. Guys, I'm not going to do what I might have planned to do because it's this time that it is already. By a show of hands, who does know anything about Brand SA? Okay, so we're already halfway there. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think it's always important when the nation branding entity of the country partners with a platform that we are able to qualify it and you are able to connect the dots for yourself as to what your role and input is into the nation brand reputation. So just by way of introduction, we did have a video to play, but if it's not going to play, I'll proceed to indicate that Brand South Africa is the marketing agency for South Africa. The mandate is two-pronged. Okay.
Where ordinary people have cut their names in an extraordinary history by showing the world that peace is always better than war. Our reach is not limited by our borders, bringing joy in people's hearts and a spark of rhythm to their moves. This is the welcome home of opportunity, inspiring millions to look here in search of a better life and sharing our best with the world. We are home to undulating mountains, flowers, endless seas, the beautiful animal kingdom, and the ever-changing seasons that cover our world. We are the birthplace of humanity and the showcase of human excellence. We believe in South Africa. We are inspired by our victories of the past and have strong institutions to overcome the challenges of today and build a better tomorrow. This is who we are, South Africa. South Africa, inspiring you. This is inspiring.
Thank you very much for that. So I think you got the summary version of my very short presentation here before you. As I was explaining that our mandate as Brand South Africa is two-pronged. On the one hand, it's the international marketing, ensuring that global markets know and are aware of South Africa, the qualities and everything that we have to offer, our unique features, and of course that includes, importantly, anything that we export, whether it is skills, whether it is talent, whether it is your services or products in a world that is globalized. I dare say, I am going to assume that desire is not to remain trading in the domestic environment as an entrepreneur. And so, essentially what this means is Brand South Africa can do all the great work of marketing South Africa that an entity can, but the real reputation is formed at the point of contact where people form perceptions about South Africa on the basis of their interaction with the products, the services, and the people of South Africa. So it doesn't matter all the work that may be done, all the amazing marketing campaigns that we can do, But at that point of interaction of your service and your product to somebody not from South Africa, you are South Africa to the world. So that's the international part. The domestic part is active citizenship, in short. And that includes every aspect of this country that is active in making impact that is positive in whichever your sector and your corner that you operate in. So one of the areas that maybe I need to share here is the fact that amongst the domestic programs, we have a platform that is designed, and we have collaborated with the Startup Tribe to provide free entrepreneurial skills training that are usually paid for. But through the Brand South Africa platform, the Play Your Part Academy, you will access those for free. So now one might wonder why Brand South Africa is here. So one of the things that the 28 entrepreneurs who will get to be in the part of the pitching festival, they will get a masterclass from one of the Brand South Africa Play Your Part ambassadors. So as a partner in this program, for us it's very important to acknowledge and to lend our supportive voice to saying this platform still matters. I was at a Future of Jobs summit, mostly by Corporate South Africa, and one of the questions that were asked was, what is the single most important thing that can make an impact into the future of jobs? Now that was a jobs conversation. The response was consistently very illuminating of just how important entrepreneurship is when it comes to the future of jobs, because that was, the answer was funding. Throughout the day, different speakers, different panels, it just didn't let down to come up as an important factor. So it then became very obvious to me that we could not have been here at this particular platform and support it, because it's what is going to be the differentiator between the not so encouraging data that, I mean, we recently received almost 2 weeks ago now of the rising unemployment. The only differentiator is the support entrepreneurs get to be able to create the jobs that are required. So there is also an important aspect where globally, countries that are admired are known for their innovation, their enterprise, and their opportunity. So entrepreneurship then is also reputational capital, so to speak, because it signals confidence, it signals capability, and it also signals progress. So as Brand South Africa, we do believe that every entrepreneur does carry the South African flag into every space that you are in, whether it's a boardroom, markets, digital platforms, and I dare say perhaps, and I hope after this, we get to take more seriously the impact of how we show up on digital when we have a mind of being South African first as we do our business, because you leave the impression, it doesn't matter that you were in your own capacity, that is the impression that you are giving, and you were just trading in your business. So that is how each and every South African fits in, regardless of their sector, into what is being done as work in Brand South Africa. So I will not be much longer. I will simply use my last 2 minutes. I'm sure the program director will be very impressed with me if I end here. So I also just want to, the investors, the partners, the sponsors who have come on board in this program and made sure that it happens, because until we are where we need to be as a country, we will need to continue this kind of effort. And some people may they may see coming together as redundant, as we are always coming together for talk shops. Well, if the environment hasn't responded, indicating that it has listened and acted accordingly, we have to keep talking about it. So you being here is very important. It's certainly not a waste of your time or not a waste of the partners' resource and effort spent to be here. I would like to leave you with just one thought, that a strong nation brand that we require in this country will not be built by words alone. It will be built by people who dare to dream, dare to innovate, and dare to believe in the future of their country. And we believe that is everybody who has taken their time and effort to be here to make something better, because we know it impacts beyond yourselves and your businesses, but it impacts families, community level, and beyond. I thank you.
I am Brand South Africa, she said we must say. Please, let's all say that I am Brand South Africa to the nation. I think that's so powerful. Because if we all look at ourselves as a key component or the key ingredient to what makes up Brand South Africa, then we all take responsibility actually for how we are perceived in the world and how we all show up. I think that's the end of the day. I'm going to ask Ubaba Laikai, so I'd like to give him back the keys to his home. Masters, thank you so much for allowing us into your space, into this amazing space, and into this amazing concept. I think we've had a whirlwind today. We started off with just being grateful for somebody that gave seed to this idea. We know what being capital investment looks like. We know what business readiness looks like, being investor ready. We know what that looks like. We know about, Yazin, me, I'm running a business now. Tomorrow, I'm a billionaire. Sasa, guys, tomorrow. Please close us out.
Thank you so much, Big Doctor. Thank you so much, the Big Doctor. My role is to do a vote of thanks. I think let's give the Big Doctor a round of applause. Incredible work. And I can assure you now that when we do the Empower Women, we're giving you another tender to do one of the the industries. Because we normally have how many industries? 8 industries, 9 industries. We're doing 2,000 women August 28. And then we'll also invite you here, because here we host, how many? 500 CEOs. And that one is an invitation only, but we are also invited as the Big Doctor. Let's give the Big Doctor another round of applause. Brilliant work. I love your, your depth, your passion, your charisma, your personality, and your personhood. Thank you, the Big Doctor. I just want to extend our gratitude to Absa, Auslane, Ogogai, incredible human being. Thays, if batting, Gambona KK, busy, go Gantle, Abutumelo. If they're here, let's recognize. Auslane, are you here? Is she here? Thays, are you here? Auslane, let's recognize you, the Thays. Face come. This is Absa. Guys, Mameda, and I'm not waxing lyrical and selling Absa. Bank with Absa. I'm serious. You're not there. These are the guys that have made, you see where we are. They've made it possible for us. We are part of their ESD. And these are the 2 incredible persons that we've been dealing with. Auslane Abuti Thays. We have recognized you in the morning, but I thought we must also extend credence to the work that you do. That is not only training, it's not chalk and talk. I think Lilo Nalaubona Msebetiwa Absa. Hence we are saying talk to them, go there, bank with them, negotiate. If Bofa Butata, at least you have a direct contact. Absa when it comes to ESD, uhleli lapha. Must talk to those 2 people. Auslane Ralabocha, Abuti Thays, thank you, Grotmane. And also extend our gratitude to Tate KK, Leabuti Dumeno. Let's give them a round of applause, our friends. Devon R. Sita, I know Tate Panapa Sutamaile, Martha, Realebocha, Vukane, and the big boss, Tate Tom Nkwanas, the CEO. They have always partnered with us. They're also partnering with us for the Empower Women, including Absa. Absa is one of our key partners for Empower Women. If you want to partnerly empower women, talk to me. We're hosting 2,000 women go the campus. If you want to be there, you're a woman. More requisite ticket, I think it's 1,005 ticket. Can you buy a ticket as a woman? Okay, Kofel. Lego web ticket, and let's see web ticket, and I will make a plan for one or two. Should we give one or two? Okay. Who should we give? You can just choose a random.
So I think the lady with you, for sure. I mean, I think that's an amazing idea.
Okay.
And then I've got, so
Okay.
somewhere there. Maybe the lady in the red, only because you're wearing red and I can really identify you. You're looking at the back, you in the red jacket, yes. The lady in the red jacket, yes, that's you.
It's not red.
What color is that? Oh,
Put your glasses on.
Oh, you.
Yeah. It's a bit gold and whatever you call it.
The jacket is red.
It's you. We're giving you a free, a complimentary Ausi Ole. Just talk to Ausi Anita. We have 2 tickets for the VIP, the Bubbles and Nibbles. Who should we give? The VIP.
Let me see. Should I put on my glasses maybe?
You guys will be our guests.
I know you're standing, so it's going to have to be you with
guys.
you in the green.
Tulisa, come in, Big Boss, Anita. The EmpowaX team come in and the volunteers. It won't go paid. While the big doctor, you must choose 2 and these 2.
So you
guys, you want to have the 2 and you only attending the VIP, the one that we're doing. We call it the Bubbles and Nibbles.
Right.
You know, we have 500 top CEOs and entrepreneurs. We are awards entrepreneurs. Yeah, it's an invitation only. Who have you
So
chosen?
I've got the 2 here, and then the
2 here.
first 2 was the lady with.
The first 2 they are attending the summit.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you must talk to Anita. Choose it. We can't. The big doctor has made a final decision.
Sorry, guys.
The big doctor has. I'm sorry. We only have, 2 spots, and I'm just violating the principles because I can. Normally we make this announcement that side, but because you guys you stayed until this time, we thought it's good just to, to give credence. Maybe let's take 1 for the summit. I don't care when Ocean. Do you wanna come? Okay. You'll join us for the summit. Okay, cool. I think that's it. I just wanna say thank you to. Where's the other guys? They don't want to be thanked. Abolefa ababhizi lapha abaphuza ama Coca-Cola and woza lefa abothabo. Hey. We just want to say thank you to EmpowaX team. Ora nifuna ukubonga. Sebenibonge enough. Ekhaya bomama bathe siyabonga bobaba. These are the guys that have made this event possible. Anita deals with all our speakers. When you see the big doctor, the panelists, the keynote speakers, come guys, don't be afraid of stage. You guys, you can only build stages. You don't want to be to win the stage. Where's our boss? Oh, that's B. Come B. Arafella, if you are not here. Open Popo. Where's Pastor Popo? He's not here. Okay, let me make it fast. This is Anita. Anita, we just want to say thank you. I always wax lyrical about your commitment to the brand. The Empower Women, she's the one who will be driving it from Monday. I don't know, Monday is off, whatever, Tuesday, whatever it is day, thank you, Anita. Let's give a round of applause. That's Anita there. And then this is Prudence. Prudence. Yes, Prudence. She's our lead, one of our lead volunteers. We like her. We like the energy. We called her yesterday. We love her. We love her dearly. You are loved, Prudence. Thank you so much. This is our commissioner, Kenotweri Dinotlolo. It's certify. Not satisfy, certify. This is Lefa there. Lefa is in the activation team. We're doing a lot of activations in all our platforms. We're running campaigns for women called Empower Women, Empower Her.
Actually, we're doing the biggest event on Saturday where we bring young women with women on boards. We're wrapping up, ladies. That's right, we're wrapping up. And then we have Mbali. Mbali, let's give Mbali. She's also Moshana Lana, our volunteer, Mohau. Let's give Mohau a round of applause. Smile, Mohau. You're going to appear on Times Magazine. And then we have Thabo Molefe. Thabo is the one who's heading he's the leadership partner for Empower Youth. We're doing 200 companies, 20,000 young people for the VAL next year. And then we're doing 9 provinces. Your times 20 times 9. I don't know what are the numbers. But he's the one who's responsible for, the partners. Thank you. Now, please talk to him. And then we have Zintle. Zintle Siabonga. Zintle is one of our volunteers. Thank you for burning the midnight oil. And then we have Ota. We have Tabiso. Tabiso is studying now. Is part of the activation team, but works closely with the Empower Entrepreneurs. We love you, Tabo Taj. And then Bupilo. We thank you. Okay, you want to say Bupilo, Oko Digital. She's the one that does the interviews and all that. And Theo Siabon, they're always together. The two shall be one. No prophecies. I'm just joking. Theo, they work together. They're in the digital space. They are also helping us. And then we have Omakulubas in the digital ecosystem. That's Kashifa. Let's give Kashifa. Everyone knows Kashifa. Everyone knows Kashifa. She's more. And then we have next to Kashifa, the most working guy that we love, Neo. Neo heads the Speakers Firm. One of our companies within EmpowerX is called the Speakers Firm. It's a talent management agency. We manage up to 240 top speakers in the country. If you have time, just Google the Speakers Firm. He's the main man behind the Speakers Firm. We love you, Newa. Thanks for the hard work. And also thank you for making things happen within the team. Let's give Newa a round of applause. And then we have Naledi, the star, the Northern Star. She's the star of the group. And thank you for the incredible work. And then Tulisa, we all know Tulisa. She's our managing executive for EmpowaEntreprenuers. We have our safety officer, incredible human being, to make sure that everything that is here, the guys better catering, banana certificate, this one is Kawa, he's the safety guy. He's to make sure that everything. Isaac, please use him for your Mafu Meketi Menyalo to be your safety officer. I know I'm a safety officer, but he's the main. Thank you so much. Before I thank you, that's our photographer there, Romeo, the professional. If you need all the pictures, follow us on all our socials. EmpowerWorks, is it EmpowerWorks? EmpowaEntreprenuers. We're going to post all of them. Go Empower. Okay. EmpowaEntreprenuers and EmpowerWorks. And then we have, where's B? We have B. B, she's the chief of staff. She runs the Empower Growth. I'm out next week because we believe in her. She'll be the acting CEO for EmpowerWorks. Let's give her a round of applause. An incredible potential here. And I believe in B. She knows the pains and the tears and the joys of running EmpowerWorks. I get Lona more like a duck. The one let's say how much pedaling. She knows how much pedaling. And B, we just want to say we appreciate you. Thank you for the good work. Before you want to say something, where's Mr. Sichaba? The big boss. This guy is of us lahlane mina naye. Ke motswalle wa ka wa tlhogo ya kgomo. Sichaba is our sounding board, is my partner, is a managing executive for 2 of our entities. We have what we call Empower Growth, Go EmpowerWorks. It's an executive education. That's why we have built that small campus will be doing the trainings there. But him and I will run Empower Men. I'm a daughter. We're doing 4,000 men in November. And then on Monday is starting somewhere. Okay, it's not on, yeah. But Monday, there's some breaking news. Just check the breaking news. He's going somewhere. We've seconded him as an interim CEO of one of the biggest organizations. When you see, you must know it started here. He's not leaving. We seconded and said, Tate Chaba, Zamolukisa. And I'll take what was and kunganywa ka lerato la modimo ke nganywa msayidi wa ka ka lerato la love ndithanda umfazi wami ngolove and ndivasa ngedove. And I love you, my friend. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you to my colleagues. Teresa, you want to say something before? And I know it's late now. You want to say, you're comfortable, you know. Tomorrow we're having the last session. You are not invited if you didn't get the invite. It's an invitation only. It's called the Pitching Festival. How many people have chosen? Have chosen 25? 28. You should have gone through a rigorous, what is that? It's low. Rigorous. You know, it's like somebody was saying in Parliament, he had a hangover. He kept on saying, you can hear the Madam Speaker saying, order, 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 order. And he stood up and said, Jack Daniels on the rocks. You know? But tomorrow it's a pitching festival. Please, if you don't have the communication, the confirmation is not open to you. And then we have funders. It's just a pitch, but we might stream it. We'll then package it and send it to you. We just want to say thank you to our speakers. We just want to say the big doctor have thanked you. To all our speakers. Our speakers, we are arranging. We know you have taken time from your schedule. We are arranging to have dinner with you, all the speakers, just to say thank you. And it's an idea that comes from Anita. She has agreed that she'll fund it from her own salary. Thank you for commitment. I'm joking, yeah. We're going to be having, to all the speakers that are here and the ones that have left, thank you so much. But the invitation is coming. Because we're doing a campaign, 9 provinces next year, and then we're doing 5 African countries. Therefore, it starts, it starts now. We just want to say thank you. And also to the former First Lady, Oma Mutlante Siabonga. I know she's not here, but Siabonga for her to take time. Speakers, if you're still here, please join us at the Speakers Lounge. Is it still allowed? Yeah. Please join us at the Speakers Lounge. And to the rest of you guys who took time, we just want to say thank you. And for staying until this time, we don't take it for granted. Thank you so much. I guess that's it. And then go to ABSA, open a bank account, and then, do visit the stands. Sizabonana, follow us. All the updates will be on our social media platforms. Blessings. Thank you, too. Thank you. Maybe we can do it when I come back.